Why is it okay for them to do it and for others not to? These are false claims, not true, and every country has the right to protect its sovereignty.
In a region that rewards the loud and the large, Bahrain chose a different path. Not to shout, but to connect. Half the size of Delaware, it is home to the US Fifth Fleet, signed on Abraham Accords, and its doors are open east and west. It is not a story of survival. It is a story of strategy. And to walk us through this strategy, how Bahrain turned its size to strength, we have with us true blue Bahraini, political consultant, celebrated author, and a man who lives this very act of balancing that we are going to discuss today, Dr. Ahmed Khuzaie. Dr. Ahmed, welcome.
Thank you. Always a pleasure being with you, Raji.
Thank you very much for joining. I always wanted to sit down with you on this very specific topic because the volume of work that you put into the general content that circumferences all this topic that we are going to discuss have always impressed me. And that one wonderful book, The Kingdom of Bahrain, a political review. Hats off to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. So let's move into quick 5 questions to take the listeners through, or the audience through, the scenario that we are discussing, how Bahrain balances small nation, big neighborhood, right? Well, so my very first question would be the big neighbors, the regional heavyweights, which is Saudi Arabia and Iran. Bahrain sits between the two. Yes. How do you find Manama doing this balancing act on a daily basis between these two big weights?
Well, to balance between, as you mentioned, two big nations of that sort, one has to be wise and calm at the same time. And that's exactly what our king has been over the years. We have to understand that we can't treat both nations at the same arm and leg. That being said, one nation, and here I'm talking about Iran, since the 1850s or so, started to claim Bahrain as their own. So that made them a foe. While Saudi Arabia, throughout our modern history, they have put it on to themselves to make sure that Bahrain is Arab, Muslim, and sovereign. That being said, we can't deal with both nations at the same, in the same ways, as well as with the same interests, if I may. So when it comes to Saudi, we are a friendly nation, as friendly as it gets. We are neighbors, we are brothers, as well as allies of another sort. While when it comes to Iran, beside their proxies in town, beside whatever they're trying to stage us as, beside their continuous claims to take over the island, of course, these balances, as I mentioned in the beginning, have to be wise and calm, and that's exactly where we are. Yet, all of that went down the drain when Iran started attacking all of the Gulf states, starting in last February.
February 28th, yes. Unfortunate that it is still continuing, and let's hope that it soon settles down.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, hopefully. My next question would be the 2023 Beijing brokered Saudi-Iran deal. How do you think that has put, or where do you think that has put Bahrain and its job of the balancing act? Has it made it any easier or trickier? How do you take it?
We'll have to dissect how that, basically, I'm not going to call it a deal, how that meeting was set up. So it was during the heightened tensions between Iran and the Gulf states at the time. So Iran spoke to the Omanis, basically to put forward some kind of a negotiation between them and the Gulf states through Saudi. The outcome of that was what we've seen along with the Chinese. The biggest outcome of that was for the Chinese to broker a deal between Iran and the Gulf and to bring them a little bit closer. We've seen some developments when it comes to that. Yet these developments reached a dead end, especially at the as a result of the October 7th. That's number one. Number two, as a result of that, we've seen our Majesty the King traveling to Russia and then from Russia to China around the same time. trying to basically broker another deal for a bigger understanding in the region. That's number one. And the most important thing was that the narrative that Iran was spreading around changed. As a result of that, Iran and China treated Iran on a different footing from there. It was not an easy thing to do, but it was achieved through our deeply rooted diplomacy that Bahrain has been practicing. Now, the outcome of that was not as expected, and we've seen how the war basically played. Israel and the United States attacked Iran. The first thing Iran did was attacking the Gulf, which means it's not an easy thing to deal with such a neighbor.
Yeah, very well said, Dr. Ahmed, because this has been what the history has showed us. It was not easy to be dealing with a neighbor, as we call, the neighbor like Iran, as you said. Now, coming to the Fifth Fleet, a very strategic asset to Bahrain. When we talk of Bahrain, we are home to the Fifth Fleet, but at the same time, it is a responsibility, a responsibility, high stake, isn't it? How do you look at Bahrain's strength in managing this asset without complicating its terms with the neighborhood or the allies or the regional countries?
It's becoming a liability on Bahrain or the rest of the Gulf states is a narrative that was established by the Iranians themselves. I don't think...
I think they have been cementing it off late.
Over the years, but lately they made that as the nail in the coffin for the Gulf, which is not true. Before talking about Bahrain, let me give you just a hint of how the American bases started having a presence in Kuwait, for example. So in 1987, something started in the Gulf, in the northern parts of the Gulf, that was known as the oil vessel wars, where the Iranians were hijacking the Kuwaiti oil vessels. The Kuwaitis tried many ways to stop them. Nothing worked until they spoke to the Americans, and with one small carrier by the Americans was present in the Gulf, and that stopped the Iranians completely. So the Kuwaitis thought, how about we extend that? Before they took that forward, the 1990 Second Gulf War started, and then Iraq took over Kuwait. And the operation to free Kuwait basically established with the support of the Gulf states, but by the Americans. And that resulted a bigger presence of the Americans in the Gulf. So are they here against our will? Are they here to jeopardize our security, or is it the other way around? Same thing with Bahrain. As we said earlier, Iran is claiming us. By claiming us, I'm not saying that they went to the International Court or the United Nations and presented papers. No, they staged and helped and orchestrated the 1981 coup d'etat. Not many people know about that. It was an Iranian operation. In the 90s, they backed another Destability Act. In the 2011. It was at its best. And you mentioned my book earlier. There's a big chapter on that with evidence. This is not hearsay. This is not us against them just by saying we hate them and they like us. It's not like that. There are extreme and basically evidences that back these claims. All of that being said, with the Americans, unlike what people think, we're not paying the Americans to be present here. Actually, they pay rent to be here. The American presence in the region started happening with the Brits left, and then Iran started talking loud about how the Gulf belongs to them. So we have the right to protect ourselves. Yes, the United States is one of our biggest allies in the world and in history, so why not use them in our favor? Iran themselves rented their lands to the Russians for some time, while the Russians were attacking Syria. And it's not so long ago, we're talking 2017. Why is it okay for them to do it and for others not to? These are false claims, not true, and every country has the right to protect its sovereignty.
Right. As you rightly mentioned, it's just not a love-hate story. And the amount of literature which came out after the 2011 unrest, including your book and that big chapter which you spoke about, with ample evidence and truth, is always standing as two testimonials, isn't it? Coming to the economy, when you're talking of weathering amongst big powers or big rivalries in the regional neighborhood, economy is key. And Bahrain is into diversification of economy, isn't it? Especially projects like the Economic Vision 2030.
Yes.
What is your take on that? How does this strengthen Bahrain's position?
I'll sum that up in one thing: evolvement, trial, and error. Nobody in this life is born with complete knowledge. Even wisdom is earned through hardship, through understanding, through trial and error again. This vision came to presence after the National Charter in 2002 came as a result of the progressive way Bahrain is going, especially when we're talking about diversification of income, diversification away from only or depending only on oil income. That being said, Bahrain shifted from being a solely oil-based economy to what's known today as services and human capital economy. Bahrain started developing its own people. The citizens became something completely different. We were just talking before the shooting of how it was before the year 2000.
Correct.
And how education level hiked up. And it shows exactly where we're heading. Every country is different. So Saudi's economy is different. The size of Saudi is different. The dependency on oil is different as well. So it's something that's really good, but requires update every now and then, which is exactly what's happening. So from what happened before the war, during the war, and after the war, of course, there will be another revision to the vision. And basically, other clauses will be added based on how our economy is today and the challenges we faced through the war. So I think there will be changes coming up to the plan itself and to our economy as a whole in the next few years.
Yes, indeed. And that, of course, every vision has to be tailored according to the needs. And we are living in unprecedented times.
Yes.
As we discussed before, we are a generation that saw a pandemic and a war together, isn't it? Yes. So this is a vast topic and we can go on and on when interested minds or like minds sit and speak. But unfortunately, we have to limit to the time, and we have the last question. My last question to you would be, following this series of the intra-GCC tensions, like I'm talking of the 2023 Saudi-Iran detente or the Yemeni dispute, and the very recent UAE's historic exit of the OPEC and the OPEC Plus, how or what is that one lesson that you would point out to small nations like Bahrain, which they can learn from these lessons as to when it comes to protecting its own self or identity or existence in a neighborhood, especially our beautiful small little kingdom Bahrain?
When it comes to big decisions, these decisions are driven by what's happening around us, right? Some things we could fight, some things we have to get along, and some things we have to create our own path.
Yeah.
The war showed us who's a friend and who's a foe. There are many countries that depended on us as Gulf states over the years, and we thought they'll be the first to stand along with us. That didn't happen. Of course, it didn't change anything internally, but externally it will change many things. Now, Emirates' decision, it's not as portrayed in the media as a once-off and they are basically flying away from the flock. It's not true. It's part of how the Gulf states are thinking, especially that it happened on the same day that the leadership of the Gulf met in Jeddah later. So nobody can say they did that out of spite or they did that going against any other Gulf country. I don't believe in that. I still believe in the unity. I still believe in how the Gulf is functioning. Actually, if you look around the whole broader Middle East, the only region that's really functioning today as proper state as a whole is the Gulf. We're proud of that and we're building on that. That's why we have all put our trust in our leadership and how they plan our future. From there, we will see, as we mentioned in the previous question, we will see big decisions. We will see lots of things happening. We will branch out from some international bodies, yet we will create our own as a result.
Correct. And to conclude, as I always say, Bahrain has a beautiful way of bouncing back, or
Yes.
coming back, irrespective of whatever the blow is. We've seen different situations, as you listed in our previous couple of questions, how it has overcome. And what is, I know the answer for sure, but for a reassurance from a Bahraini and a political consultant, how do you see the outcome of this whole scenario that we are witnessing? See, when I'm asking this question, I'm not limiting this to the war scenario.
Yes.
It is a spiral, isn't it? It is spiraling down to, as we discussed, the basic business, the education, the health, the hospitality, many things. How do you see Bahrain taking the stride?
Bahrainis, and when I say Bahrainis, everybody who drank from the Bahraini water, the salty water, we are resilient, we are hard-headed, as well as the most important thing, realists. We understand how the world functions, we understand who we are and where we are. So as we mentioned earlier, trial and error happens all the time, and that's how we evolve. That being said, the international economic scene is changing, it's evolving, to better or worse. In this cycle, it is to the worse. So we have to adapt, we have to understand, we have to recalibrate, we have to replan. It's not an easy thing to do, yet we have national bodies, official bodies that were established to help along with that. We have, for example, Tamkeen, who helps along in planning and replanning of small businesses as well as the big ones. We have the EDB, we have the BDB, we have everything that a business needs today to reevaluate. Because after the war, even though over the past few years they were not easy years economic-wise, internationally, yet the war will force us to reevaluate again and again. That being said, lots of businesses have to consider and reconsider how they do their business. We will have to depend as well on outsourcing, especially when it comes to accounting and sales sometimes, storage. All of these will have to be forced in order for us to sustain and survive the current climate.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed, for taking us through. Any wrapping comments in a line or two, please?
We have to act as one. It's not easy times. Wars are not a joke. We have to understand the hardship that comes after a war, yet sticking behind the leadership and our communities, as well as our elders, will get us through that. I'm sure of it. It's not easy, but we will.
That's very optimistic. So the takeaway is, Bahrain is doing the balancing act, not because it has to, because it knows how to. It is a small kingdom that turns diplomacy into its navy, alliances into its army, and its, I would say, strategic position as its superpower. So that was Dr. Ahmed Khuzaie taking us through how a small nation is taking its size to its strength. And this is Raji Unnikrishnan signing off.